Abi, acha meu celular aí, por favor. Tá em cima da peça. Achou? Obrigado. E aí, moçada? Vamos ver se dessa vez a gente não faz atrapalhada. Vou. Tá tudo certinho aqui, notando. Continuar. Task. Start 027. E aqui é propriedades. Propriedades. Não tem altura de chegada. 3.000. Sem altura. Moderada, normal. Atividade alta. Variação alta. Pouca turbulência. Tem, tem atividade na camada superior. Vento forte. Task. Vamos lá. Vamos lá. Certinho. Primeira vez que eu vou entrar nesse cenário. Primeira vez.
Welcome everybody for the fourth race of the FAI World Series. Tonight, my name is Jean-David Toby and I will comment the race. Antoine Ave will join us in a few minutes, hopefully. And we will see this race tonight with you. So, as I said, it is the fourth race of this competition. The three first races took place in Mexico, in Canada, and in Morocco. And tonight we are pleased to fly in the sky of South Africa. So, let's begin by discussing and detailing a bit the task for tonight. We'll speak about the rules, the task itself, and a bit about the weather. So, about the rules, tonight it's a FAI 18-meter class race. So we have no handicap, which means that no coefficient will be applied on the final score for the pilots, so they are free to choose any plane tonight on the 18-meter class. We have no restriction on the water ballast loading too. And this is a racing task, so a speed task, not an AAT. Well, let's speak now about the task itself. Tim, can you show up? Thank you, Tim. So, tonight the pilot will fly in the region of Kimberley, which is in the middle of the South African country, as you can see here. So the pilots start their flight southwest to the city of Kimberley. As you can see here, we have multiple points that represent the different pilots around the starting airfield. For the start, they will go straight north to the first turn point, which is right there in the mountain. For the second turn point, they will turn left and they will cross a small mountain which is inside the second lane, and they have to be careful because on this second lane we can see a red zone right here which corresponds to an airspace of the Army of South Africa. And even if we are very good organizer of race, we were not able to dismiss this area. So the pilots will have to fly over the restricted area. This area is from the ground to the flight level 75, so it is about 2,300 meters today. If they cross this airspace, as it is prohibited, they will have some penalty points. So be careful, fly safe over this restricted area. When they will join the second turn point, they will finally turn left for the last leg, which will make them going to straight to the starting airfield in Douglas. So the total length of this task is 375 kilometers. The task setters consider that they will do this race in 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours approximately. So as it is racing of speed, this time corresponds to the time they will spend after crossing the start line and before crossing the finish line. So now let's speak about the weather today. So it is half past midday here in South Africa for the race, and the pilots will face wind from the northwest. The speed is about 20 kilometers with light turbulence and low medium variation. The thermals today is the cloud base is 2,650 meters with some cumulus clouds, so we won't expect blue thermals. We will see cloud in the skies. The strength of the thermals is moderate and they will face a normal with thermals. We can expect a bit of wave turbulence, so they may use it to climb faster or to find a better way to the finish line and to go faster. And we have a small high cloud coverage. As you can see here, now we have with the different pilots. So I am discovering with you this landscape of South Africa. As one of my friends told me, it's kind of a dry region. We will see some small salt lakes around this area. And as it is very dry, the energy from the sun um, comes in the thermal quite easily. So it is quite a good region to fly thermals in South Africa. To the north, this kind of region goes to Botswana, and to the east it goes to Johannesburg, and to the west it goes to the Orange River. So it is a very large place to fly in South Africa, and we will see the speed that can reach the different pilots tonight for this race. Okay, so here with the Condor landscape, we can see that the weather is quite corresponding to what I described to you and what the task setter decide to set. So we can see some small cumulus clouds, but with a good coverage. It is quite homogeneous over the region we fly today, and a small high cloud coverage. So now the pilots are flying in this region over the airfield for about 10 minutes now, and they wait for the start line to open. Okay, so the start line will open in 1 minute and 30 seconds. So from this time, we may see pilots to cross the start line and to try the first leg to go as fast as possible. We can see on the right that the start door has a limit vertically, so I will try to find this information. Okay, so I don't have it right now, but the pilots need to go to fly below the start limit to have a valid start. So we may see that the pilots right here are way above it, and they have to manage the altitude and their energy to take the best start from this line we can see over there. Right now they are a bit over all the region because they are trying the different thermals. They expect they will go to the first leg and see what will happen in this direction to start making some strategies. These strategies right now can be going first to have the best thermal in the beginning of the race, or to follow the other pilots ahead. So I can see that some of the pilots are here for the first races. I can see Whiskey Romeo Whiskey and other pilots. So I will try to find the overall ranking from the 3 first races. So the first ranking has been made from the results of the 3 first races, and we have 3 Hungarian pilots who are on the podium. On the third place we have Norbekis, Charlie November, he may be here tonight. We have Mihaly Knos in the second place and Thomas Meyer in the first place. So tonight we have more than 60 pilots joining us for this race, so we may find the 3 pilots I mentioned before, but there are lots of them right here. So as you can see, there is no strategy right now because the start line hasn't opened and the pilots are staying really high. So now the starting line is just as it's open, and we can see some pilots that are going a bit lower, like Papa Victor 0, who may be the first to cross the start line. So here you can see Papa Victor 0 and the other pilots Victor 88 who are crossing the lines. On the bottom of the screen you can see some information of the race. You can see the instant altitude of the pilot, you can see the instant speed, the instant variometers, and the distance flown on the task. Also you can see the name of the pilot and the type of glider. I don't know if we have the majority of glider tonight. I don't know if it's maybe the 23 of 18-meter class and the GS3, which are the two gliders used tonight, mostly. Okay, so for the people who are joining us right now, we are on the fourth race of the FAI World Series, which takes place in the sky of South Africa. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Don't forget to subscribe; it helps us a lot to find the motivation to organize some stuff like that. And we are very happy to have feedback from you. And never hesitate to ask questions on the different channels. We will see your comments and we will respond to your questions. So with this type of weather, we can expect pilot to stay relatively high after crossing the start line. So as I said before, a strategy is to go searching and looking for good thermals after the start line. And when you find one of them before crossing the start line, you can find it back. It is way easy now with some computers to point to one of the thermals and to try to find it after crossing the start line. And then you have some kilometers after the start line that can be predicted quite easily. You don't know what is after this first kilometers, but you can define a strategy for the first ones. So here you can see Alpha Mike in his GS3 18 meters. He's quite high right now. He has left, I think, a good thermal where we can see Quebec 3 or Mike Alpha Yankee right here. And with this idea of a good thermal right there, you can start the line, cross the start line, and go back to this position to find the energy. Or maybe you will see another position, another thermal. So we have November Papa X-ray in his 23. He is now going straight up the first leg. He has flown just 10 kilometers right now. So even if he has crossed the start line, he can make another start if you want. If he thinks the first start is not good enough, he can go back to the start line and take another start. It will reset the time. Okay, so right here the pilots are still in the region around the start line, trying to set the strategy. And we can see Juliet Tango right here, Janice Teteris from Latvia. Janice participate to two races right now, and it is third. So you may know that for this World Series we are doing 14 races, and for the final ranking only the 12 best races of one pilot will count in the final rank. So he may not participate to all of the races, but Janice has all the chance to still win this competition at the other. Okay, so here you can see that a few pilots are in a good thermal right here with Eco Alpha 7, Eco Juliet Eco, and Uniform Whiskey Echo. Uniform Whiskey Echo, Uwe Melzer from Germany, who is a famous Condor pilot. We can see often on the FAI World Virtual Series races. But he's quite high. I don't know if he crossed the start line. So okay, so Uwe Melzer has not crossed the start line right now. Bravo Fox Benfest is also a famous pilot. He was the world champion last year, so a very good pilot. Now he is ranked 75 on the global ranking, but he has made only 2 races, so he does not accumulate enough points if he does the 3 races. So he is one of the pilots to follow during this race. Okay, so as you can see, we are here in a quite flat region, so no dynamic thermal or no dynamic air movement can be used. I am quite excited to see what we will see on the ground after the first leg, because we could see a mountain on the map, so I don't know if it's quite high or not, and if some dynamic winds could be seen, because it will change a lot the strategies. As maybe Tim, you can show the Kuna map. If we have this with a bit of terrain to see, and because as we saw on the map in the first times, the mountain we are flying next to is oriented north-south, so it can be very useful during the first leg to... Okay, so now we have the map, and we can see that the terrain is very flat on the beginning of the race, and during the end of the first leg, during the second leg, and during the third leg, we have a bit of mountain, but I don't know if they are enough high or enough vertical to generate dynamic movement. So we will see. We will see if the pilots decide to choose to try the dynamic air mass or not. And this is quite interesting because right now no pilots have been there, so they are not able to know if these mountains can generate enough lift to go faster. So maybe some pilots will try and others will only consider thermals like flatland, and we will see these 2 strategies. So here you can see some pilots. a bit ahead of the rest of the pilots. You can see that X-Ray Bravo X-Ray is now the first on the race. Team, do you know if X-Ray Bravo X-Ray has crossed the start line? So X-Ray Bravo X-Ray, as you can see, has done some kilometers away from the start line, but he has not started the race. So he will have to go back and take a good start to make the race. Actually, it will be quite difficult to establish some very distinct strategies here because, as I said, the sky is quite homogeneous. So the pilots may go to the best-looking cumulus clouds right after the other. So with this kind of altitude above the ground, they will have time with an 18-meter class to select quite good the good thermals and to let the weak thermals to make the average speed going up. And here with the wind of northwest from 20 kilometers, I don't know if we will see very large decision, which means I don't know if some pilots will go away from the tracking from the different legs. Now the good strategy could be to go direct to the next turn point to select the good thermals by looking at the cumulus clouds and to hopefully be the first. So now the strategy to go first is, to my mind, not the best one, because as the Condor you can see quite good the other pilots ahead of your position. So having some pilots ahead of your position could be a very good advantage to select the cumulus clouds and to make dolphin flights to your destination and to your objective. So here you can see some pilots that are quite low above the ground right now. The strategy here can be a bit tricky because in region where there are more population, you have in real life, and in Condor it's the same, you have some points that generate lifts, and we know them. As the forest don't, you have some copper fields or some crop fields or things like that that generates strong lifts. So you can choose on the ground what you expect. But here the region and the ground look also quite homogeneous, so maybe it's a bit tricky to go too low because you can't choose as easy as if you are high, because choosing a cumulus right today is more easy than choosing the right spot on the ground. And you can see here the pilot in so Richard Usher in his GS3 has some trouble to find a good thermal. The value you can see here, I repeat, is the instant value of the vario. It's not the average one. You can't we can't display it tonight, but with some lines behind the position of the glider, we can see that its average average climbing is not as good. Okay, so here you have an interesting position. So Laszlo Orsi, Echo Juliet Echo, is one of the first pilot of the race, and I see. With the first view, I was expecting him to do a very long straight line before finding the good thermal, but you can see that he's targeting this small cumulus cloud, I guess, before trying another one. And here we can see he is trying this thermal. So directly behind him, we Victor 88 and Whiskey Romeo uniform will try to join him. The air mass is not dry but not very wet, so the cumulus are quite spaced between two of them. I don't know, it may be about 5 or 10 kilometers between each cumulus cloud. So you have to find the right one and to select good to have a great average speed. Okay, so now you can see that Echo Juliet Echo is leaving the thermal. You can see with the tracking here, the brown line, that he has not climbed a lot on his 3 or 4 turns, and he took some retard from the November Papa X-Ray, who decided to go straight to the next thermal. We have Juliet Tango on the left, who goes on the head of the race tonight. And you can see that the weather he's facing is quite the same as we can see on the beginning of the race. So, as example, here you have 3 shadow on the ground, and he could have joined one of them, and by looking the cloud above, he will choose the best for him. So Tim, maybe you can show us the 3 clouds to have an idea of what he's targeting. So yeah, so we are speaking about the 3 clouds that are on the top of the screen. Yeah, so here he has passed through another thermals, and we have a medium. We have a very small cloud on the right, a medium in the center, and a bigger on the left. So all the essence of virtual gliding and gliding also is to find here the good thermal. So here, as they are generated by a computer, you can have some idea of if it's growing up or if it's dying. So here he's targeting, I think, the middle cloud between the small one and the bigger one. Okay, so maybe you can see, and now he's targeting the smallest one, and this type of cloud is typically the type of cloud who demonstrate a growing up thermal, so a thermal that has been created just a few times ago, and this type of cloud is quite interesting to find a good thermal. So maybe Tim, we can go to the overall map to see how many pilots has crossed the start line and if there are different directions that are chosen. Okay, so on the 60 pilots tonight, we can see that maybe a third of them, or maybe half of them, have taken the start. And as I said, there is no very distinct decision. They are all going right to the first turn point, because as the weather is homogeneous, it is the best strategy. So, for those of you who are joining us right now, we are looking at a map of the fourth race of the FAI World Series tonight that takes place in the sky of South Africa. We have 60 pilots racing tonight, and we are on a task of 375 kilometers. To have a small reminder, the weather is 2,300 meters of cloud base. We have a wind from the northwest of 20 kilometers and probability to have some waves, but with this type of flatland, it is not very expected. So, do not hesitate to ask your questions on our different channels. We are live on Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. And we will see your question, and we will be happy to answer them. So now we will see another point of view of this race, because we have the chance to see the POV of Wojciech, who is flying tonight. And this is quite interesting because we thank him for this type of content. We can see him on the very low left on the image. He's racing with a virtual headset. So this is a very interesting setup, because he can move his head as he wants in the glider to see other pilots. It is very interesting to mention that this competition is a free competition, and we expect all the pilots to fly safe, to fly friendly, and we expect them also to respect the security in this flight as they were flying in real life. So the VR set is very good stuff. So he's waving his head. Hello. Have a good flight, and we hope you the best for the summer to full fun. So here you had a very good example of where the headset is very interesting, because he had Kilo Juliet above his head, and without this type of setup he wouldn't be able to watch him. And oh, okay, there was another pilot right there, and you have another example of the information you can get from this VR headset, and it's Uwe Melzer. So now they are flying to the first turn point. You can see also that we can see the computer of these pilots on the bottom right of the image. A lot of pilots use this type of computer because it gives a lot of information of the flight. You can have average climb on your thermal. You can have your statistics data on the overall flight. You can find a lot of information that are very useful during a competition. In a speed race like tonight, it is very interesting, but in AAT, so in sectors area, it is way more interesting to compute the distance flown and the average speed on the task, to have an idea and to be right on time on the finish line. Okay, so I don't know if we have his average climb. So here he's climbing at 2.5 meters per second, which is a quite good speed, a quite good thermal. Okay, so maybe Tim, you can show us the Condor and the position of Wojciech in the Condor, because there is a lot of pilots right there flying in the same thermal. So maybe we are seeing the middle of the ranking tonight. Some of the okay, so a lot of pilots are before this pilot. I don't know if he's crossing. He has crossed the line now. I'm trying to find this information. So We saw Uwe Melzer just before. Uniform Whiskey Echo. And maybe I can see them. So you have Kilo Gillette. Okay, so I found them on the map. It was not quite easy because they haven't crossed the start line, I guess, or they just did. There are some other famous pilots. We can see that 269 is a French pilot, Donat-Pierre Luigi, who is also a great pilot on a Condor, and in real life he's flying in the French Alps in real life. Okay, so here you can see the different pilots. So you have Benfest here in Bravo Fox, you have Donat-Pierre Luigi, and you have other great pilots. And they often have this strategy to wait until the last time, until the right time to cross the start line. And it is not because they are crossing the line at the end that they do not have a good average speed on the all task. So this group of pilots at the end of the race is not to forget. Okay, and some of the pilots who were on the sermons are doing long right legs. And maybe here we are seeing first team flying. I don't know if they are flying together, if they have a strategy, but it is quite interesting when you have a team, whatever it is, a national team or just a friend team, to fly like they did, 3 ahead with a horizontal space, and then you will search the thermals way better if you can communicate with your team, your teammates. One of them can say, "Oh, I found a good thermals, turn right," and then the 3 pilots are turning right. So there is some strategy to fly a team. It is a work to learn how to fly like this, and some national teams like all the teams, but Poland, Germany, or France are teaching their pilots to fly like this. And here you can see they are waiting for the right time to take the start. Okay, so as the pilot have done some more kilometers on this race, looking to the map. Okay, so you have now the pilots that are spread on the first half of the first leg. Some pilots are waiting before the start line, and we can say that 80% of them has take the start. The weather today looks quite good. They do not go too low. They are between 2,000 meters and 3,060 meters above the sea level, so it is quite high for this region, and it is a good weather for this task. Maybe Tim, when you can, you could show the average speed on the task and the distance flown to tell us a bit the statistics of this race. Oh, okay, so Antoine is about to join us in a few minutes, so we'll welcome him when he will be there. I know that a lot of people are awaiting him, famous guest of our World Series. So now, welcome to Antoine Ave. How are you,
Hey,
Antoine?
hey, good evening, Jean-David. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. Sorry for the delay. Tight, very tight timing for me tonight. I'm just discovering the race. Actually, I think we can look at Kunam later on. Yeah, I was working all day, and I couldn't get any Wi-Fi or anything to check the task before, and I was watching the race commented by Jean-David on the way back home to
Yeah,
see what was going on, and I saw that the gliders uh, uh, were just waiting before starting the race, and now apparently some of them have started some minutes ago, and it seems to be a fast flight for now.
it looks, yeah.
I see maximum safe altitude for arrival 1,300 meters, max speed for crossing the start 170 kph. So the start is going to the north to turn point 1, that's what we see. There is an active zone. Is it real airspace that is in the
Uh,
simulator or not?
I didn't find um, the actual map of the airspace in South Africa, but when you see the QNAM map, you can see that there is a military zone on the ground. So I guess it is quite a real
Okay.
airspace in this region, and it is an airspace that goes from the ground to 2,300 meters. So if they can, they go over this airspace, but
Okay.
if they cannot, they have to fly over, they have to fly on the side. But in the second leg, it is a very large, very large path. It has a lot of distance to go on the side, so the pilots have to manage well their altitude to avoid this area and don't take some penalty points that are
Okay.
uh, very hard in this competition, because if you target the first place, as I guess they all do, you don't want to have penalty points.
Yeah, that's for sure. I see it's 375 kilometers, the race today,
It
and it
is.
should be completed in 1 hour 45 to 2 hours, so it should fly at around 170 kph, maybe 200 kilometers per hour. There is no wing limit, it's 18-meter class, so Antares 18, SG29, GS1, GS3, DG 808, Ventus 3. So it's quite good, and the weather is wind from north for 19 kilometers,
Exactly.
medium thermals more or less, high cloud activity, and so on. So it's a good looks like a good task. By the way, the story behind this task is uh, is that the Saipem Grand Prix of South Africa was actually supposed to happen and to take place in Douglas Cape, which is on this landscape, and this landscape was done a while ago by Michel DGT and his landscape team. So it was done really a while ago and released a while ago. I believe there's been some tests already online on that landscape, and in the end, the South African guys changed the location of the event from Douglas Cape to Worcester. So we've had on the virtual side to create a new landscape. Well, Michel and his team had to create a new landscape in Worcester to make the event work there. I believe it was quite a nice Grand Prix there, and quite a nice virtual cycling Grand Prix as well, with amazing lakes, mountains, and so on. It's very different here with a lot of flatlands.
Yes.
If if you see, well, if you see a little bit how South Africa is, Worcester was close to the southwest, close to Cape Town, I believe, and this is more to the center or northeast of South Africa, not very far from Bloemfontein, where the Junkers airplane, well, gliders or airplanes are made actually, and it's all flatlands and bombastic weather quite often. So it was supposed to be like this for a week, and then they moved to Worcester. Anyway, that's why we wanted to come back here, because there was a nice landscape
Yeah.
that was made here, and we wanted really to try it out there, and we picked up the 18-meter class for sure, because of Junkers, for sure.
Obviously. And do you know in the overall work how they did the landscapes? Do they use some satellite data and some map data like Google stuff or?
Well, it's a bit special for the landscape, because you need to get free data, so it's not always high definition data. So the creator of the landscape, they need to manage to find the good data at the right place, and they need to ask as well sometimes the authorities to have the rights to use it, because it's not a commercial landscape. They don't sell the landscape. It's available to everyone for free.
Yeah, for free.
So it's kind of the thing around the landscape. So if you don't know a lot how Condor works, Condor, so the gliding simulator has its own landscape that is not built on satellite data yet, and then other people create well, personal landscape, and they share it with the community, and then you can download your landscape or the ones you prefer, or the ones where the tasks are, like what we are doing today, and you can go and fly there and discover the areas. So it's quite cool.
Okay, so now I can see, maybe Tim, you can display a bit of the Cunham maps to see how many pilots have crossed the start line and they are spread on the task. So I can see that all the pilots have started the race, and they are spread over the 2/3 of the first leg. So, Antoine, do you think we will see a very different strategy with this type of homogeneous thermal weather, or they will go maybe straight to the next turn points by selecting the cumulus?
Yeah, I think they will try to select the cumulus because the weather looks quite good, but they should, and I believe they will fly as straight as they can to the next turn point every time. You will not see big deviations and so on, because as you said, it looks quite homogeneous, and in the area there, it's often the case as well, very homogeneous, much more than in Europe with a lot of forests, lakes, and so on.
Yeah.
It's really different, but yeah, in South Africa it looks much more like this, with very good weather. So I believe they will go straight to the turn points, and I believe that the strategy around the flight is very different than what we have in Europe. I believe that what you want to do today in this type of task is to fly with the best of the best and try to stay with them and stick with them, because they're supposed to make the best decision and to take the best thermal. So what I would do if I was an intermediate pilot in the event is to try to catch the good guys and to try to stay with them as much as possible, because maybe they will fly better than me, they will climb better than me, and I will lose them at some point. So what I would do is try to catch them ASAP and try to stick with them, but it might be difficult to do at some point.
Yeah, maybe you can say a few words about the objective of this competition. What type of pilots do you want them to join the race? Is it organized for world-class competitors, or maybe some pilots that have not small but less experience in Condor can join this race? Is it open to everyone?
Yeah, that's correct. So that's really open to everyone. We don't want only world-class pilots. really know, everyone knows in the community who are the top pilots and who are the guys doing good performances. There is no secret there. They are there for already 5, 10 years, 15 years, doing amazing races, and they really know how the game works and how they should fly to get the best results out of it. So we have the virtual Sailplane Grand Prix which is a more elite part of the sport, and we have world championships that we have here with the World Series, which is very open. Even if you're a beginner, you can try the races, because even if you outland, okay, you will score a few points and you will improve and get better and better. I think the most important is to try, and to try to fly with good pilots as much as you can, so you can try to understand how they make this decision, when they want to leave the thermal, when they want to climb more or not. And I think that's why we are doing this event. Actually, it's to help the people to grow and to have better pilots, to or at least to help intermediate pilots to reach a better level, I believe.
Yeah, and in our previous events, we can see multiple profiles doing this type of race. We have only virtual pilots that love condors and who are able to know exactly what will be the next thermals, because the cumulus cloud is like this and not like this one. They are specialized in condor, but we can see also some pilots that have not the time to fly in real life, so they decide to fly in Condor. But we can see some pilots who are just learning how to fly cross country, and they use Condor as a learning tool to, as you said, observe the good pilots and to learn about their flights by flying with them. It's quite interesting to see all these different profiles that are sharing the same passion for this simulator.
That's exactly true, and it's very funny because I flew today with well, my captain was flying gliders before, and he wants to fly gliders again, but he doesn't not have the time to do it. So maybe virtual gliding can be a solution, and when he will have more time in holidays or when he retires, he will get back to gliding, real gliding. But it can be a solution for him to do some virtual gliding from time to time, or to get some competences, some skills in gliding. And I flew with a cabin crew as well, who was doing some gliding at an airfield 1 hour away from here, and it's exactly the type of profile we are looking for to join virtual gliding, because he had almost 50 hours of flight.
Tim, you can display it for the first pilot. So for Juliet Tango or yeah, thank you, Tim Golf Delta Tango. We can see that this restricted area is shown here with some lines, and these pilots they have done a really long straight line before going into this. I won't tell it's a thermal because they do not climb, but they try to reach a thermal, and finally the restricted area is not that high compared to the cloud base, but if you are going too low like these two pilots, you have to be very careful of the restricted area because it is not that far away from you, and you don't have to go in this position. Maybe Tim, yeah, you can see on the right you have some other pilots that are quite near to the first two ones, and they are in a way more comfortable position. I don't know the history of the way they took, but maybe it was a better energy line than Juliet Tango, for example.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on Qdumb. I believe Juliet Tango did not stop and continued to well, he did get lower and tried to get a good thermal, but he didn't find anything good. And I believe that Echo Juliet Echo, Zulu Lima 7 and 76, they stopped in a moderate thermal to not get low, and now they pushed a little bit more, and they got something much better afterwards. So they have a good climb now, and they can try to get to the next, well, to turn point 1, which is quite close now. I believe maybe 20 kilometers maximum.
Yes, and when we see this restricted area, if you are going too low, it is going to be like a wall you can't go over. So we could see the first bad decision or the first
Mistakes.
yeah, some mistakes here, because if you don't climb enough before this restricted area, you may be very blocked before it, and you will lose a lot of time because you will not need to climb. You will must climb, and this is where the previous decision have a lot of impact. And you can see here that Echo Juliet Echo or Echo Alpha 7 before him are way up than Whiskey 22, and we may see some differences in the ranking there.
Yep, still watching. I believe, well, Jean-Noël is a bit low, Victor 88, a bit low, and I hope he will find something. I've seen Eric Aubert, Echo Alpha 7, I believe getting a good one. We've seen him pulling to try to get the good climb. He is on top of everyone, or at least almost everyone here. We see TKM, Tim Madsen a bit below. Echo Juliet Echo now has something as well to climb into, so that's interesting, and we are heading towards turn point 1. The leg is how long is that? 122 kilometers. The length of the first leg, 122. Then we are gonna go into turn point 2. From turn point 1 and turn point 2, there is 92, almost 92 kilometers. And from the turn point 2 to the finish line, we have 161 kilometers with some wind pushing us towards the airfield. Yeah. So some tailwinds on the last leg. So that's almost the most difficult one. The second one will not be very easy as well, with the wind coming from the right. Yeah, now it's coming from our left. That's why they are all on the right, because they were pushed by the wind. And maybe the cumuluses are better on the right as well to get to that turn point. It's a bit messy here. From what I see on that image, you have a lot of gliders here. There's no real group, no real gaggle here. It's kind of everyone's flying his own flight, which surprises me. But behind, with Quebec 3, it looks like there is at least one gaggle. Quebec 3, Duet Kilo Kilo as well. Yeah, we have Marcin May Mar, a Polish guy with Jeroen Jenen, JJJ. Alpha Echo X-Ray is Alex from Netherlands, I believe, or the UK, but I believe Netherlands. I'll check on Condor Club. So it's a good group. I would probably fly with those guys. Just below you have Mike X-Ray, Miko from Finland, who's done some great events in the virtual Cycling Grand Prix. We have Zulu Bravo Yankee, the Polish guys as well, who are there. So I would probably fly with those guys. Or I would have waited for those guys to start the race tonight.
Yeah, but you don't have to forget the end of the pilots, because at the end we have some very, very good pilots. We have Ure Melzer, we have Benfest, we have Donapia Luigi, who are almost the last of the pack. So it will be quite interesting to see how they manage to have a better average speed and how they will go up and up in the rankings. So they will have an opportunity to see where the pilots are stopping. And as you said, they all are full aware of who are the good pilots. They will choose the thermals with this type of information. They will see the pilots, the position of the good pilots, and it will be a great help to take good thermals. So we don't have to forget this group of pilots at the end of the pack. But maybe, Tim, you can display us the average speed of the first pack to have an idea of the performance today. Oh, and we can see Eco Quebec, Emmanuel Cartier, who is flying with this group. Okay, so with about, I think, 100 kilometers done, we have average speeds from 100 kilometers to 140 kilometers. So it's quite a wide range, actually. I didn't expect this information to be so wide, but it is interesting to see how they manage to fly until the end.
So, for your information, when you're looking at the screen, the pilots from 1 to 20 are the ones who are the most advanced in the race, meaning that number 1 is Echo Juliet Echo, with the first one going to turn point 1, then 76 is just behind him, Juliet Tango just behind, and so on. Meaning that the top 20 that you see on your left is not the actual, well, it's the actual top 20 going to the turn points, but it's not the actual top 20 in terms of average speed and points you would earn at the end of the day. So you have the speeds on the right side, so you can see more or less what are the speeds, because they don't start at the same time. So the position is a bit different compared to the speed that they have or that they are flying.
Yeah, you are right to mention this information.
Because, well, mainly the background behind this screen on the left is that we're using that information as well for the virtual Cycling Grand Prix, for sure, and for the virtual SGP we have the same start for everyone, same start, same gate, same start time for everyone. So the average speed is correct on the left, but it is correct here as well, but they started the task at a different point. There is a window of, I believe, 40 minutes, maybe more. It was 60 minutes today, so 1 hour window, and they can start when the gate opens directly, or they can wait maximum up to 60 minutes to start the race. And that's where all the tactic and strategy is, because you probably have to wait or will wait for the best pilots to start or to start with them. And maybe for the beginners, you will start earlier because you know that you're not going to be able to catch up the best pilots, or you're not going to be able to complete the task if you start with the best one, because you will lose them after only a few kilometers or dozens of kilometers, and then you're going to be stuck. So, and it's going to be difficult to move forward and so on. So often the first ones to start are the beginners or those who are not confident to finish the race on time, actually.
Yeah, you are right. But we have some surprise from time to time. We have the Belgian pilot Jet, who has made a great performance in the first flight of the World Series. He has started in the first pilots, and he has arrived quite well. He has won the first race, if I remember well. So yes, he has 1,000 points. So he has won the first race, and he was one of the first to arrive. So it was quite interesting to see that the good pilots didn't manage to make to make this performance. But if I remember well, in the first race, the start hour was more late in the evening. Here we start at midday almost, so they have plenty of time to do a great performance right there.
Yeah, that's correct. I'm looking at the overall results of the World Series so far after 3 races, and if you don't know, well, you can check on the virtual FAI Virtual Gliding website or on Condor.club. You can look at that quickly. The top 3, so the podium so far after 3 races, they are all from Hungary. So 3 Hungarian pilots leading the competition so far. So Tamas Mayer, who's competed in the first virtual SGP already, and Michael Knows is second, and Norbert Kiss is on 3rd position. All of them already qualified to the Safe Play Grand Prix World Final 2nd edition. So I believe they know how to fly. They fly well and they flew well. So
Yeah, exactly.
it's a big performance from the Hungarian team actually. They're followed by Wojciech Wojciech from Poland, who qualified as well to the World Final. David Redman from Australia, who qualified as well to the World Final. Marcin May, 6th position overall, who qualified as well the Virtual SGP World Final. So we talked about it a few minutes ago, and yeah, we know who are the best pilots. We already know it for quite some time, and they are on top. The aim is to try to get more pilots, more intermediate pilots, to fight with the top pilots, and to try to beat them at some point. And for the beginners to just try to improve their skills, or at least to just be able to fly for fun. It's really the aim of the game. We have some Japanese pilots who are flying with us as well, with the other servers. At least 3 or 4 of them are in the top 20, top 21. So it's really nice. Yeah, really nice to see. Yeah, there are quite some Japanese pilots actually. So that's why we have other servers, because if they fly at that time, it's 3 a.m. in their country.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of an issue for them. So we have 3 slots. Actually, some US pilots as well, some Canadians, but we would like to have more countries, much more countries than that. And I believe it will come with the time this year. Some communication still has to be done around virtual gliding. I'm doing so on Saturday, so in 2 days, there's a big event in Belgium, a gliding event where people can come and try the new gliders, the STEM, the GS, the Vantage 3, and so on. And there are some presentation around gliding and so on. And I will be there to talk about virtual gliding, about Safe Play Grand Prix, probably about other stuff in gliding. Will be very interesting. There is Klaus Ullmann coming as well to talk about his flights, and so on. It will be really nice. So it's going to be in Namur on Saturday in the middle of Belgium. If you are around, please be welcome to join, and we will be happy to talk with you about any subject around virtual gliding or around gliding. Just
And here we can see that the first pilots are reaching the first start point. Zulu Lima 7 has reached
it's
it,
the first one.
and it is the first one. So now the next difficulty will be to face this restricted area just ahead of him. Maybe Tim, you can turn the camera to see what he will face. So as we said before, this restricted area is finally quite high. Now he's flying at 500 meters above the sea level, and the restricted area is 2,300 meters above the sea level. So he has only 300 meters to left. So if he was on the restricted area, but so it is not quite easy, and it will be a bit stressful for the pilot, I guess, to think about this restricted area and to manage it well, thinking about the altitude they lost with this area. Okay, so EcoJet Eco is keeping his mindset to fly really high, to have a lot of potential energy, and he's really focusing on it, I guess, taking the good thermals to be stuck on the cloud base, and it is quite a good solution. I think he will not be as stressed as the other pilots to think about the restricted area.
Yeah, indeed, and you fly much faster as well when you're flying higher. That's something that you don't understand when you do your first competitions or your first flights on cross country flights. You're not in that mindset. You're focusing on the fields and so on, and you don't understand that to fly fast you need to fly high because you have the true speed, the TAS, that is much higher when you are higher than when you are lower. Less friction as well with the air and so on. So it's much more interesting and much more relaxing.
Yeah.
In summer, moreover in summer, you don't have that hot air that burns your face and so on. You fly at 20 degrees Celsius instead of 35 when you are just below the cumulus at 2,000 meters. So it's really much more comfortable to do that. And for sure, if you can try to stick to the clouds,
especially
you should aim for that.
It is a good question in Condor too, because even if it's a simulator and the thermals are computer generated, the simulator has implemented a map of the terrain, so the thermals are generated depending on what terrain are below your feet. So you can manage to find the right position by looking on the ground to find a good thermal, but it is quite hard in the real life, and it is also in Condor, and it is much more difficult when you can see exactly this type of landscape. Imagine for the pilots who are quite low to find a position where the thermal is starting is very difficult, because you can see this all dry area. It is quite homogeneous, so it's a bit of hazardous to find the right spots. You can see the cumulus way above your head, but with the wind, which is generating drag and which is deviating the thermals, it is very difficult to anticipate, to compute the right position of the starting point in the ground. So here, knowing that you should not go too low because it's difficult to find another thermal. You shouldn't go too low because there is a restricted area. It is, I think, a good option to stick on the cloud base.
Yeah, from what I saw on the briefing, it's written beware of the SA-ATC zone. They have lowered it to flight level 75, so that's 2,300 meters above mean sea level in the race now. So you should be able to cross over safely. So indeed, the pilots are asked to fly above 2,300 meters, and as you can see, the cloud base is much higher than that. So John 76 is at 3,350 meters now, and is really not yet at the cloud base. So he can really climb to 4,000 meters or almost 4,000 meters, and just fly through that zone and try to stay high. That's something that the task setter wanted to try out, and in Condor generally for the development of Condor and for the next version, we need to try as well those restricted areas to see if it works with the scoring, if it works on your PDA that you have in Condor and so on. So it's important. That's the aim of the game this year with the World Series as well. Attract new pilots, help the beginners to grow and so on. Have better and better pilots throughout the races, and as well test everything we can to have a solid competition next year with good rules and so on, to have something that is proof yeah, that has been tested actually, so that it can work next year. That's really the aim of the game. There's gonna be a lot of issues, errors, mistakes, still a lot of difficulties, I believe, for this year. But we need to do those tests to be able to find solutions before next year, so that at least we have less work and less difficulties next year, and that everything works out.
Yeah, and you speak about the organization and the mistakes we can do, but it's also about listening to the pilots that who are flying the race, and find the right solution that they like, even if we speak about frequency of the race, or the duration, or the time we set the task. So it's all of this we are trying here. So that's why the competition is also free now. We want a majority of the pilots to join us and to give a comment.
Good feedback, so that
Yeah, exactly.
focus feedback on some points, so that we can improve stuff. Sometimes what is very difficult with some feedback that we receive is that some pilots don't see the background that is behind when there is a decision that has been taken, or when a rule is made like this and not like this. It's not that we didn't think about it, it's that there are some restrictions on FAI side, or rules side, or simulator side. Sometimes we are restricted, but sometimes it's something that has to be changed because there is a true issue, and we need to figure out how to do it. For example, we've had an AAT task, so assigned area task. So that's something different than what we have today, which is a racing task, going to turn point 1, 2, and 3 very straight. But assigned area tasks are big circles where you can fly through kind of more free flights, and you try to score points in these free flights in a different way than what we have here today. Anyway, and there's been a scoring made for this type of flight. It's been working out quite well on the scoring website for some years, and now that the things are becoming more official, the people now find new issues, new problems that were here before, but that no one noticed. And now the people who worked on the website, they had to modify a lot of stuff to be able to make it work in the end, because they never had any issue and they never thought there was an issue. And in the end, yes, there was something not working, and it has been managed and dealt after a few hours of work, a few days of work for those people. And that's why we're really doing all of this. We need to figure out what's working, what's not working. Anyway, let's get back to the race. We are between turn point 1 and turn point 2. And the pilots need to fly higher than 2,300 meters, because there is a restricted area controlled by ATC just below, and quite nice clouds. as far as I
Yeah,
see.
the clouds are quite good, but we saw 8 kilo that was going down. It went to 2,500 meters, so just 200 meters above the restricted area. So it is quite low, and it should be a very stressful moment for him going low. And he has to find the thermals. Whiskey 22 was not there before, so he has to find the right thermals. And maybe he had an idea. He knows how to find the thermals, and it was not stressful. But in real life, to be 200 meters above a military restricted area can be stressful. And as you are a competitor, Antoine, how do you manage this type of moments when you know you are low and you have to find a thermal? Can you explain it in real life? And in Condor, it's the same.
Um, well, it's the way it's working in gliding is that sometimes people think that it's a dangerous sport, that we take a lot of risk and so on, especially in competitions. But that's actually not the case. How it works is that when you fly, you mentally prepare what's gonna happen before the flight, and then in the flight, you're just making choices. But when you make choices, you always have plan A, plan B, and plan C. And when plan A is not working, you're going to plan B, and you're actually already building up a plan D. So you always have three options. And actually, when you start to get very low, it means that you've tried a lot of things and that it didn't work at all. So probably the weather has got much worse than what you expected. And in one of your plan, so D, E, F, whatever, there is the plan to Outland, which is the last plan, but you already thought about it some time ago, and you know already which field you in which field you can land out or not. You have selected the field and so on. And once you have done that mentally and you are prepared to outland, you don't have actually to focus on the field because you already know more or less what you're gonna do. So you feel less stressed about it, and you can more focus on how to get back safely in a good thermal and try to climb again to get back to the flight. What happens in that situation is that you will probably be able to find something and to climb, but we usually say that you're gonna lose about 20 minutes in your flight, in your performance, 20 minutes compared to other pilots who did not make that mistake and did not go that low. Because thermals are not as good when you're low as when you're high. And as we said, there are much more turbulences, friction in the air, less ground speed when you're low than when you're high. So it's much better to fly high for sure. But sometimes you don't have the choice because, as you can see behind on top right of the screen, there was not a good cumulus. Here it's really good. So there's no
Yeah.
real risk when you push. But sometimes you believe, well, you have maybe a 20 kilometers straight line to go. You need to fly just to glide to that cumulus. It looks good, and then when you start to arrive just below 5 kilometers away from it, you're like looking at it and it doesn't look good anymore. And then you're just below, and you're like, ah, it's not gonna look good.
Not going to happen.
And you're really hoping for then the next plan to work and for the next cumulus to work. But then the next one, maybe you're gonna be really low. So yeah, anticipation is key in the sport.
Yeah, and this
And
is what type of behavior we can see now. We can see
yeah,
the pilots that are grouping together to find the right thermal. And like 8 kilo or Tango Kilo Mike right there, you take the more energy you can in this cloud to go to the next one. And previously we didn't see so much pilots just at the cloud base, but now they are really high. You can see it's about 3,500 meters, and for example, Jenin has here plenty of space to climb and to not be in the future bad position to be low. So it is a very different strategy from we saw previously. So maybe team, we can go to the QNumb map to see
Yeah.
how the pack has group or has because okay, we have a lot of pilots around the first turn point. So at the start of the race, we could see that the pilots were spread over the two-thirds of the first leg. But right here, I think that they are grouping a little bit, and the last pilots are flying really fast, and they are joining the middle pack of the pilots. We can see that Benfest, Uemelzer, you can see on the right, you have Bravo Fox and Uniform Whiskey Echo, who were at the end of the pack of the pilots, and they are slowly climbing the ranking, I guess, and they are flying really fast, and together we will see at the end of the race if they manage to be in the first third of the pilots, or if they stay in the same average speed than the other. We will see.
We will see. It's going to be quite interesting. There's already quite a big group who passed that turn point 1, going to turn point 2. As we said earlier, it's going to be very, very fast, going from turn point 2 to turn point 3 to the arrival. Really fast. I believe 20 minutes. I believe 25, maybe 30, but I believe around 20 minutes because it's 120 kilometers, something like this. So they're gonna fly very fast. If they are at 4,000 meters, with the wind pushing them, it's gonna be super fast. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward for that. That's the most difficult leg because they need to be above that that ATC restriction, that restricted area. They need to go to pass safely above, and then we'll probably try to not be too high on that turn point, and they should try to get a thermal just after turn point 2,
yeah.
and to just climb with the wind pushing them towards the arrival. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, if we can see about 2,000 meters of energy to loss from the turn point 2 to the arrival, it will be very quick.
Yeah.
And maybe Tim, you can show us the end of the group with the Donna Pierluigi 269 Uemelzer. Yeah, right there. They are all flying in one group, and they took a very strong lift, I guess, because they are quite high. They are 3,400 meters right now, and maybe we will see their strategy a bit and how they fly together for a while. Maybe we can analyze their flight for a few minutes. So you can see here the pack of pilots, of famous pilots in the World Condor scene, and they are quite close together. They are flying in the same speed, and all this group needs to stay together. As you said, it's a strategy to find the pilots. You know they are good, and you know they are flying very well, so you can follow them and you can help yourself with their position, with their strategy. It is always the hardest position to be the first and to take the lead, to take a decision, because you may be wrong, you may be make some mistakes by choosing the thermals or whatever, and the autopilot behind you know this information and will have another information to decide. So here you have Donna Pierluigi, who is almost the same of this small group, and now will leave the thermal because he is running at the cloud base, and he will join all the other pilots. And you can see that their lines, their route is almost the same for every pilot. You have a small lateral spacing, but they are following the same strategy. So in this small group, the final ranking is about one or two decisions, maybe, because as they are following each other, it will be very, very close, I guess. What you can say about this strategy, this type of pilots who have the same level of flying, and who flies together, we can see that they are flying 250 kilometers straight to the first endpoint here.
Yeah, exactly. I think they waited as much as they could until the window, well, the gate, the window ended and closed. And that's one strategy when you're very good to try to catch up then everyone else in front of you. That's more or less the safest strategy if you believe that you're one of the best to have the best average speed, because you should have the thermals in front of you marked, and you should see what are the best cumuluses to take or not. That's something that's done as well in real life, for sure. It's not only in virtual. That's a good strategy. This strategy has been impacted a lot in the recent years by the implementation of the maximum start altitude, because the maximum start altitude is around 200 meters below the cloud base. Okay, but that's at 1 p.m. let's say. Okay, and then some pilots they wait 1 or 2 hours, and the cloud base has raised by 200, 300 meters, maybe more, and then you're still stuck to that 1,300 meters maximum altitude, let's say. But now the ceiling is at 1,800 instead of 1,500 meters, and you're actually in the intermediate zone of the thermal instead of being in the highest zone of the thermal, and you're not going to be very close to the clouds, meaning that your first glide towards your first thermal is not going to be as long as the pilots who started earlier, because they were much closer to the cumuluses and they should have had best options, and they should have been able to stick more to the clouds than the ones who started later on. So that's something I was not very fond of when they released that rule a few years ago, and I'm still not a big fan of it. I believe that in Saint-Plain Grand Prix it's very important because you have 20 pilots. They start together close to well, with a very short start line, and they really all start together at the same time, and it's quite dangerous if you add with that cumulus problems and so on. You never get out of it, and you need to have safe races. But in European or World Championships, I'm not a big fan of it, because the start window is open for 1, 2, 3 hours, or is unlimited. It can be open for 10 hours until the end of the day, basically. And you are restricting the first leg of the pilots who decide to start later when the ceiling is higher. And I'm really not a big fan of it, because before you would have the choice, well, you had the choice to start later, and you had quite an advantage to do it, because you would start with a higher ceiling and you will be able to catch up the ones in front much easier than what it's today. It really, I find it more difficult now than it was before to start later, and that's not an advantage for sure. For at least for the base pilots, not an advantage anymore. You just need to fly as best as you can on the first few dozens of kilometers to be able to catch the first one, but it's much more difficult than before.
Yeah, it puts all the pilots at the same level of energy at the start line, so the difference in the ranking will be seen only on the decisions they make during the race. So it is
Well,
more difficult.
they have at the time that they pass the line, they have the same energy, but actually the second after, if you start after the first pilot, you would have less energy, because the ceiling is higher actually for the first glide. Only for the first glide. Then it's going to be much better if you climb higher at 1,600 or 800 meters. That's for sure. But for the first glide, I believe it's less good. But that's a topic that has been discussed already and so on. They need to take decision at the IGC. There are a lot of delegates, one delegate per country at least, who vote to take decision like this. If you don't know how it works, basically There is one gliding commission, and they have 1 or 2 sessions per year, and any country can propose any new rule in the section 3 of the rules, so gliding section of the rules, and then the delegates, they just vote yes or no, I agree or not with the change that you're making or with the new rule you're proposing. And that's all how the rules are made and changed every year. It's much easier with virtual gliding now because we're just starting. We can add a rule tomorrow and remove it the day after and so on. We can really manage it like this for now, because it's still well, it's a small community, and we try to hear everyone and to get the feedback from everyone to change that. But yeah, in real life, it takes a lot of time to change the rules, and you need to find agreements with other delegates in other countries and try to convince them to change the rule. Same for handicaps when they change the handicaps, because there's going to be a lot of moves, a lot of changes in the market. If you move the handicaps in club class, for example, it can downgrade a lot the price of your glider and upgrade a lot the price of other gliders. So it has a big impact on the handicap, for example. So you need to vote those stuff, and you need the people to agree if it's a good rule or not. Yeah.
Yeah, this type of decision are very technical and are made, as you said, in a very high commission. But
Yeah.
it's interesting to speak about feedback, because previously we speak that we try to improve our races, whatever it's about the pilots, about the organization, etc. But we are also listening to the viewers, so do not forget to comment the race. I see that Team Hungary has made a small comment to encourage their pilots. As I said, they were on the podium. I hope they will fly fine today. So it's quite good to see the fans on the comments. We have Julieta who said hello to the team. So don't hesitate to ask some question, to say your feedback if you like something, if you have some ideas to improve the entertainment of the show, our commentary, our analyze, or whatever. We are open to any ideas, so don't hesitate. You are about 20 viewers a few minutes 20 viewers a few minutes ago, so you have 20 of brain to give us ideas.
Jean-David, let's go back quickly to the race, and then I want to talk quickly about the next races of the World Series.
Yes.
So some pilots already passed, and some of them on the screen are passing that restricted area where they needed to fly above 2,300 meters. If you're just joining us, a small try here done by the task setting team to try and to check if the
Set rise for me.
walkings and so on. Can we check who is behind those guys, team? Yeah, just do a 180 and we can see who's behind.
Wow,
Yeah,
it's very
perfect.
straight.
Yeah, everybody is behind. As you can see, there are some nice communities on the way
Tá
there.
transmitindo
So
aqui,
they have
velho.
two cloud suite options, but they more or less all take the one that is to the left side of the screen, so on the north side of the task. So that's quite good. They flew 181 kilometers. Those guys on the screen out of 375 kilometers, and they are more than halfway through the second leg from turn point 1 to turn point 2.
And it is very interesting to see all these pilots to go very straight out of the restricted area. I think they are going very straight to be the first and to go very fast to the next leg, because as you said,
Yeah.
it is not it's not a problem to go not very high to the next turn point, because if you take the thermal after turning the second turn point, you will be dragged to the finish line. So taking a thermal just before the turn point may not be the best
The
idea.
best option. Yeah.
Yeah, if they need to, they will do, because as we see, the altitude is about 2,400 2,000 meters, and they may need one thermal to reach the second turn point safely. But after this thermal, I think they all go straight to the second turn point and to do the final leg very quickly with the wind behind, taking good thermals, climbing to 300, 3,000 or 4,000 meters, and going to the final glide until the eye level.
Indeed, Jean-David, I'm looking at who's here. So it's very funny because we've seen some of the best pilots behind who started as late as they could to try to catch up the ones in front. And then we have that group with Alex from Netherlands, with Marcin May, Polish guys, TKM, Zulu Lima 7. We know those guys. Ronny Lindell from Sweden in 8 kilo. JJJ, Alpha Mike, and Arne Martin Göttler from Norway. So we see a really big and nice group here leading the pack. And we have another very good group with at the back of the race here, trying to catch up everyone. So it's quite interesting. The strategy that they have here is quite interesting, both of them. Some believe that it's going to be better to start earlier, to have the best cumuluses and to be able to be sure to finish the race. And some believe that they will be able to finish the race and they will try to catch up everyone. But that's a big bet when you start late.
Yes, and speaking about the group who are maybe late in the race, I can't see where Wojciech is placing, but maybe we can go to its live to see his point of view of the race right now. I don't know if Tim you have this view. I'm looking for his position. So we want to see the live streaming of Wojciech.
Ah yeah, the live streaming. So he's flying still with the VR, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So he's only turning the turn point 1, as we can see, direct live. Okay, so nicely done. The first turn point is done.
Nice, GD. Nice. Really nicely done. No, that's super interesting. Yeah, once again, I'm telling him every time, but thanks to him for sharing this stream. We have the GPS, the PDA on the right side. You can see ground speed 233 kilometers, taxi speed around 143 kph. So that's quite good from what we've seen previously before turn point 1. It looks like quite a good average speed. Distance flown 18. No, distance to go 89 kilometers.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but yeah, distance to go to the next turn point.
Yeah,
18,
to the next turn point, exactly.
Correct. So yeah, it's really interesting to see. You can comment in the chat if you have a VR goggles. I want to see who's have one. Maybe. Well, I'm sure I'm gonna buy one day. We will see when, but I believe it brings a lot of things for us in our sport in virtual gliding. It brings a lot of situational awareness, as we say, and it's really good. And I believe with the next version of Condor 3 is gonna be so good that everyone will be like, okay, I'm gonna just pay 300 euros to try this out, because it's gonna be just mental. I believe so. Really looking forward to that. Still in progress, development in progress for sure, but everyone is looking for that.
Yeah, it's a really good setup to have this VR headset, and if you are not thick with it, you can buy it. But I will try it before buying. And yeah, we have a comment from Norberkis who said hi, and he said good luck to all the pilots, and he will try the race, but on the next server. So we hope he will do a very great race on the next server, but we will sleep in the European time.
Yeah, I believe Norbert will fly tomorrow morning European time, or tomorrow end of the morning. I believe it's 11:30, but I'm not sure. Maybe 9:30 UTC.
Okay.
The last slot. I think 9:30 UTC, so 10:30 European time. Anyway, good luck, Norbert. Really good racing so far, and he will do a live streaming. So if you want tomorrow at 9:30 UTC, you can jump into an Orbit stream to watch his race from the inside, because we are watching here from the outside, all the pilots, and you can watch from the cockpit. Can we get some close-up views from the gliders here, team? What does a glider look like? Yeah, let me see those wings. Nice.
It's
Nice,
a
nice.
X-Pen you don't have in a 330.
Yeah, so that's a GS3 Revelation, amazing glider in real life as well. Very stable, and compared to the previous generation, so SG29, Ventus 2, and so on, it does accept much more the wing loading, meaning that when you're really flying with full loading, it's more or less like you're not flying with any loading. It's a bit it's not exactly like this for sure, but you can still feel the thermals and so on. And with the previous generation, when you were flying with full loads, it was much more difficult to feel. Is the thermal on the left, on the right? I'm not sure. And yeah, with the Ventus 3 GS3, you can really feel where the thermal is, even with full water in your wings, and it's just crazy to see how far we went with the development of gliders. It's crazy. A really nice Ventus 3 that we've seen a few seconds ago with Eric Aubert as well.
Yes, they did a really great job, and I saw some articles about the conception of this glider, and they are helped by a lot of computation to compute the stresses inside of the structure, to anticipate the behavior of the composite structure, and to develop it as best as they can, because glider in composites were made from a lot of time, from the 50s, the 60s. So now we have a lot of information and a lot of knowledge on this type of behavior and materials, and we can develop very precise gliders as they all do. Now the Ventus 3, the GS3 are very technical gliders, as well in the conception and in the computation, the optimization of materials. It is very interesting from an engineer point of view. They are making a really great job.
So we've had our first